Hi everyone. What I wanted to talk to you about today was pretty much how I came to making this decision, what sort of brought me to this point. Today is actually 7 days to the day since I had the surgery, but I know that when I was considering this type of surgery, which was about a year prior, the first thing I did was, start going online, looking for YouTube videos, looking for information, looking for people like me that have had it done, to see what they really think of what it's all about, and would they do it again and all that sort of thing. So what I've tried to do in my little videos is sort of break it all down into different sections and sort of give you that information that I know I was looking for beforehand, and hopefully some of the information that I give you will help you. So what I wanted to talk about first is, as I said, how I got to this point. So pretty much all my life I have been fighting obesity. I come from an Italian background, and we love our food. I was always forced to eat everything off my plate, and that was usually a pasta first and a meat after, or something like that, plus bread, plus everything else that came with it. So I just always ate big. It's just something that our family always did. My father had a stroke in his 50s, had a heart attack. He lived on till he was in his 70s, but he didn't have a good quality of life because of, I guess, eating badly and not looking after himself. And so obviously it's in my family, so it's something that I had to be really aware of. And I'm not picky. I like sweet, I like savoury, I just like food in general. So obviously this has been something that's been really painstaking in my life. So I've been on many diets over the years. I've been really successful. I've done Weight Watchers, I've done Jenny Craig, I've done every single diet you can possibly think of. I've done it. I'm one of these people that's either all or nothing. Once I commit to it, I do it. The problem is that even if I do get down to a fantastic weight and everyone tells me how amazing I look and all this sort of thing, unfortunately, once I get a little bit bored, I just start eating again, and I'm back to square one. Sometimes I put on more weight than what I originally had lost. So, I'm going to actually be 50 this year in June, and I think that's a little bit of a wake-up call as well. And I thought to myself, do I want to be living this sort of life, just forever, just always constantly worrying and being on a diet, and I'm just over it. I just got to the point where I just thought, I just can't do this anymore. I actually had 2 people that I know that had the gastric sleeve surgery, and I've seen after 2 years what they sort of look like, and I sort of spoke to them and asked them how they were going, and both of them, the common words that they said to me at the end of it all was, I would do this again, like it's the best thing I ever did. So this sort of got the ball rolling in my head, and I thought, maybe I should do something, like surgery. But initially I was thinking of a gastric band, and I actually was thinking about this a year before the surgery. So what I did first is I didn't actually go out and speak to anyone about it. I just sort of thought, okay, well, let me get it all in motion just in case I do decide to go for it. And I actually went to NIB, my health provider, and I upped the benefits that I had, because I didn't have top cover hospital, I just had like medium. So I changed that first of all. So you had to actually have any obesity surgery, you had to actually have that for a year. So that's actually the first thing that I did. Then my daughter was getting married, so the whole year last year was just like busy. I actually did lose 27 kilos before she got married. So I sort of put it on the back burner, but I could just continue to pay the health fund, and didn't sort of think about it too much because everything was going okay and I was too busy. Then after the wedding, the usual, put my weight back on, started not to exercise, all the rest of it. So I also had a change of job. So that kind of made me think as well, because I had to look different. I had to be, you know, I was very comfortable in my previous position. I'd been there for 16 years. You know, even though I always did look after myself, as in looks wise, you know, tried to put makeup on and all that sort of thing, the actual weight thing was starting to really get me down in this new job, because everyone's super healthy and they're all young and fit and all that sort of thing. So earlier on this year, in 2015, I started to think about it again. So I thought, you know, where am I going to start? What am I going to do? So I remember going to a private hospital in Ashfield, and noticing as I walked past that there was an institute for obesity surgery. So I thought, oh well, that's not far from home. I guess what I might do is just ring them up and make an appointment. So that's what I did. So I made my first appointment, and the first appointment you actually have to go and see a bariatric coordinator. So you don't see doctors first or anything like that. And in this first consultation, which is bulk billed by the way, I saw a lady called Patricia, and I actually went to CIOS, or the Sydney Institute for Obesity Surgery. And in our first sort of session, you know, she asked you some questions, and we sort of had a bit of a chat about, you know, my life and what brought me to coming to see her. Now, when I first went in, I had in my head that I wanted to have the gastric band. I thought that that was the less invasive way. It's something you can reverse, because I'd looked at other options, you know, sleeve and bypass and all that sort of thing. And I had in my head that that's what I was going to do. I was going to have this gastric band. But when I sat across from Patricia, and she sort of showed me, she had like a little model, and she showed me the band, what it looks like, and this little sort of cord thing that goes under so that they can inject saline in to tighten the band and loosen. As I started to look at it, I actually started to feel physically sick, and I thought, there's no way that I'm going to put that thing inside of me, and you have to keep going back, and it just sounded too hard and just too many risks. And I just thought, no, I just can't do this. So then we started to talk about other options, the gastric sleeve, the bypass, that sort of thing. And the more she talked about the gastric sleeve, which is what my friends had as well, initially I had thought, oh my God, there's no way I'm doing that. That's super drastic. You can't go back. You can't reverse it. There's no way I'm going to that sort of extreme. But as I started to look at, to take the information home and look at the comparisons, and yes, okay, it's not reversible, but the risks and all that sort of thing, it just started to make more sense. I thought, this seems to be, you know, much better for me, for the type of person I am, for what I'm looking for out of this. It just made sense. So at this point, I spoke to my husband and one of my daughters about it, and they were actually quite supportive. You know, they said, whatever you want to do, you know, you obviously do research, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. So I had a bit of a think about it. I think I had already made the next appointment to see the dietitian, but in the meantime, I was sort of thinking about, well, you know, do I want to go ahead with this? And if so, what do I want to do? So by this stage, after I did more research, spoke to the people that I know, I pretty much put it in my head that the gastric sleeve was definitely the way that I was going to go. So I'm just going to give you a brief outline now of the money side of it, what fees you have to pay. Now, I can only talk about the CIOS and what I had to pay to them. Obviously, everybody's different. Wherever they go, it's going to make a difference. Now, first of all, at the outset, one of the actual surgeon there are 3 surgeons, but the one that I chose was Dr. Michael Talbot. Now, the reason that I chose him is he's actually one of the first in Australia to do the gastric sleeve. He's got a really large practice there, and one of the things that I like is that he regularly actually performs this surgery. So obviously the more someone does something, the better they're going to get at it, so the less risk. That's the way I looked at it. At this point, I still hadn't actually met him yet. I had spoken to one of the people that I knew, and they recommended another doctor to me that they had gone to. I tried to get in just to, you know, compare and see that one as well, but they had a waiting list of like till the end of the year, and I thought, no, once I made up my mind, I thought, there's no point waiting. If I'm happy with the way these people are, you know, by the time I get to speak to all of them, then I'm just going to go ahead with this place. So basically pre-surgery, so before you even get to even deciding about the surgery, so like I said, the first consult was with the bariatric coordinator. The second appointment was with a dietitian, and that was $120. Obviously, if you've got, you know, your cover covers it, you're going to get some money back on that, which mine does. Then the next appointment was with a psychologist, and that was $160, and again I got money back for that. And then the next appointment was with the actual surgeon, so that was with Dr. Michael Talbot, and that was $180. So up front it was $460, but I did get some of that money back. Now in all those appointments, obviously the dietitian runs you through what life's going to be like, you know, or really issues that you've had before, because those issues are not going to go away. You still have to deal with those food issues. So we spoke about that, and I'm going to be continuing to see the dietitian to work on those things. But also they tell you, you know, how much food you're going to be eating. Obviously it's going to be a tiny portion because your stomach is going to be, you know, a quarter of its size and that sort of thing. So they talk about, you know, what life's going to be like with this small stomach. And then the psychologist, well, obviously they talk about, again, still the same sort of thing about, you know, why you're obese, you have problems with food or that sort of thing. Are you in the right frame of mind to have this surgery? Are you doing it for the right reasons? That sort of thing. And of course the surgeon himself, well, you know, I had a list of questions for him. You know, he was very matter of fact, very honest, you know, didn't muck around. You know, there's no point pussyfooting around. You know, they tell you the truth. You know, you can't snack, you can't, you know, you still have to be careful. This is just a tool. It just means that you can put less food in, but you've got to make the right choices about what food is going to go in, because you can put weight back on. This is not a miracle. People who think that this is the easy way out, forget it. You may as well turn around and forget about it now. It is not the easy way out. It's a tool, it helps you, but what you do afterwards is still up to you. So then the actual operation itself, the sleeve gastrectomy, so the total cost that I was quoted just for the surgery itself was $5,970. The benefit that I get back is roughly $850. So the actual gap for the actual surgery was $5,120 odd. The anesthesiologist is a separate cost. He quoted me $1,600, $480 of that I will get back. So there's a gap there of about $1,120. So all up, prior to the surgery, it's about $6,240. I had to pay that up front before the surgery, so a couple of weeks before. Now, what I do want to tell you, however, which not everybody knows, is that you can actually apply for early release of superannuation on compassionate grounds. Obviously, the compassionate grounds in this instance is medical. Now, the way I look at it is, this is my money. This is money that I've been contributing to as well as my boss. If I don't do something about my weight, I'm not going to live to even get my superannuation anyway. So I had to do something about it. I had to make sure that I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to enjoy my superannuation one day. I'm going to live to actually see it. So what I did is I went to the Australian Government Department of Human Services website. So the actual website is www.humanservices.gov.au. You just navigate around until you find where you can get the compassionate grounds forms that you have to fill in. The actual form is about 10 pages. It's an M0014.1405. You can put that in the search and it'll come up. Now, in this form that you have to fill in, it's got personal questions, your name, date of birth, all that sort of thing. It's got questions about your fund, the balance, that sort of stuff, as in the superannuation fund. Questions about your spouse and what they earn, what you earn and where you work. Any assets, any liabilities, how much you've got in the bank, dependents, all that sort of thing. So I guess what they weigh up is, should you be biting into your superannuation, or have you got enough money in the bank and do it yourself, or whatever the case may be. Now, you also have to get a letter from your surgeon. You have to get a form that also you print off and you take it to your GP and they fill it in. And you also have to get ID and get that signed by a Justice of the Peace and send all those forms in. Now, I was told initially that it takes about 8 weeks for you to get some sort of response. I actually, after 2 weeks, got a letter from them saying that they were going to grant the early release. I think the amount was originally what I asked for, but by the time it's taxed, it was a little bit less. So I didn't quite get the whole amount, but it was still substantial and took pressure off us having to save this money or get it from our savings or whatever the case, actually from our home loan. So think about that. If it's money that's stopping you and you really want to do this,